Coming up on Main Street, we'll meet 3 young storytellers who will bring us tales of caring, creativity, and cars. On this edition of Main Street, New Young Storytellers.
Funding for Main Street was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you who support quality programs such as Main Street that appear only on public television.
Hello and welcome to Main Street. I'm your host, Barbara Deeb. On this edition of the program, we're going to introduce you to 3 young people that we work with on a regular basis. They've each taken a story that speaks to them and told it in their own unique way. First up, WKU senior Abbey Oldham brings us a tale about senior adults who've banded together to make some very special gifts for children about to undergo surgery. What started out as a caring gift for young patients has become a vital connection for these volunteers who take the time to create these funny little monkeys. Next up, WKU senior Neil Purcell takes us back to the good old days when cars had a style all their own. He tells us about a group of car enthusiasts that have taken the love of their classic cars one step further as they gather each week to raise funds to help cure juvenile diabetes. And finally, WKU junior Karen Webb introduces us to a friend that has the creativity and talent necessary to create one-of-a-kind cakes from scratch for that very special occasion. We'll see how she does it and get some pointers on the fine art of baking. We're meeting a brand new generation of storytellers on this edition of Main Street.
I want to be a storyteller because that's just how I learned about the world. I grew up here in Bowling Green and I haven't been around the world, but I feel like I have because of the stories I've watched on PBS and things like that. So I want to be able to do that one day for another girl growing up in Kentucky and just show her the world. My story is a really sweet story. It's about some elderly volunteers who have sort of bonded over a volunteer project at a hospital in rural Kentucky. They hand make sock monkeys and they give them to children who go into surgery so they have a little distraction before their operation. It's almost more about the volunteers than anything because they'll call each other and make sure they're doing okay. They are in their 70s and 80s and they're living alone and they look out for each other and in the process are making these gifts for these children who are going into surgery. So it's kind of like a parallel story where they just are doing some amazing things for other people.
When my nieces and nephews were tiny, I started making sock monkeys for them. And I was working in surgery and we had very few, but 3 or 4 small children a month. And we didn't have anything to give them. So I started making sock monkeys. I saw these kids get these monkeys. I saw them with them. I saw them dragging them to surgery. And to see a 2-year-old dragging a monkey by the tail down the hall, walking to surgery, is a thrill that you only get once or twice in a lifetime. They're not crying. They're walking just as big as they can be. They look so cute.
I couldn't imagine being back here without the Sock Monkey program because it's just a part of the experience back here for the children and they love it. Once we get our children back and we get their vital signs and finish all their paperwork, one of their prizes for being tough and being strong through the IV process is getting their sock monkeys. Sometimes they come in scared because this is a new thing for them, and the sock monkey will get them distracted from what's going to happen the day of surgery, and it lights them up. And most all of them name their sock monkeys, and sometimes they name their sock monkeys after the staff. and it's just a really fun part of their experience while they're having surgery here.
You're just a dog. Can you drive real fast? Make sure you hold on to them animals.
We love our volunteers here, and they are great, and they help us out a whole lot, and it would definitely be different without them here. Yeah.
As our clientele grew, we had to have help, so our Monkey Ladies was formed. And we've been doing it as a group ever since. And it's different to what they might pick up anyplace else. I think most hospitals give them something, but how many of them give them handmade toys, I don't know. It takes 4 or 5 hours to make a monkey from start to finish.
We have every month a monkey day where we sew monkeys together, we cut out monkeys, and then the ladies will stuff during that time. We don't do a lot of talking about monkeys. We do a lot of talking about what goes on and who's doing this and what, who's sick, who needs some help.
It's almost like a family. I know that there's not anyone in there if I called on them that wouldn't come to me, and we all look out for each other.
If one of us doesn't show up at our appointed time, while we're on to that, and we're looking to see why not, because most of us live alone.
We're probably most of us from 60 up. My wife and I, she's 89 and I'm 88, and it's this kind of an activity that keeps you going. You know, it keeps your mind going, your body going.
My biggest pleasure is feeling like I'm helping somebody. I think we have a real good working unit here, and one that I think anybody in the hospital will tell you they're proud of, and I'm proud to be part of it.
That's all I know. Well, thank you. I can go finish the hole in his bottom, can't I? Thank you.
I like telling stories like this because for me, it's nice to get out there and meet people, and find out their backstory. And also, I like it because for them, that gives them something they can point to and say, here's what we're about, this is what we're doing, and it helps them further their own cause. So the piece is called Cruising for a Cure. That's the name of the organization. It's a group of people who get together every Tuesday and sometimes Fridays, and they bring their old cars and they raise money for JDRF, which is looking to find a cure for juvenile diabetes. I'd love to do documentary work, short form, long form. I'm not too picky. I like telling stories like this.
Well, as a small child, I've always loved cars. And I used to go to Beach Bend Raceway with my dad in the ambulance. We used to have an ambulance service here, and we provided the ambulance service at Beach Bend, so I kind of got a fixation on hot cars and engines and speeding cars. And only in the last 10 years or so, I've been able to, to collect some cars and start to redo some and fix up. The latest one I did was a 55 Chevrolet truck for my wife, Lynn. And I call it her truck because I used her credit card to buy most of the parts. So she likes to drive it. We bring it to a lot of the shows and enjoy showing them and just enjoy the camaraderie of being with everyone else.
The time has changed where you don't see these hot rods, the generation's changing. It's great to see the old cars come out and the young kids come out and get excited about them and actually love riding in them. especially in the Christmas parades. They love getting the back end of them and just riding or sitting in the seats. I mean, it's something that they won't see if this car shows die out. The newer generations won't get to see these fantastic cars. My granddaughter was 3.5 when her pancreas quit. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Me and my daughter and some family members and friends decided to do a one-time car show. We had a truck given to us and we restored it, and we raised over $150,000 that year. And then Kevin decided to start having cruise-ins out here at Brewster's Ice Cream, and we just joined up with him and been doing it now for 4 years.
They came to me about it and explained to me what they were doing, and I was doing a walk for ADA and American Diabetic Association, and they said we weren't making enough money for them to help us. So I told them, I said we just wouldn't do a walk then if it wasn't affordable for them to come down here to help. And so these people, I knew that they were doing that, and I went to their first meeting and found out it was for juvenile diabetic research. And so I made a donation to them instead of doing our walk of $1,000. And they turned that $1,000 the first year into $150,000. And I kind of joined them as MC. I would do talk at their events and things. And then the next year we started doing the car shows out here. And it's been the 5th year. And we have raised over $500,000 through Bowling Green and our surrounding counties that help us, through car shows and 50-50 pots and t-shirts, and basically $1 at a time, because there's not any real big donations. There's a lot of bench racing, a lot of people sitting down talking about what they did with this car then and that, and it's a lot of fellowship. You know, we band together. If there's another cause that needs a little help, you know, we'll help other causes as well on the side of what we do out here. A lot of people like to bring their cars out. It's a passion of love. It's an addiction of such. But it's nice just to see families out enjoying themselves and having a good evening. Bowling Green is a great community. It supports a lot of different agencies and a lot of people that need help. We live in a giving South Central Kentucky. This is our community, and we live here, we make our livings here, and we should be back in the community and help it as much as we can.
We have met several families right here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Russellville. That's where actually my granddaughter lives. There's some families that have 2 children with type 1 diabetes. What it's done to me as a grandmother, it has made me more passionate about finding a cure, because wanting a cure, when you see a child go through that kind of drama every day, 24/7, it melts my heart. It's something I want to find a cure for every one of the children out there.
Well, type 2 has affected my life because I have it. Type 1 was affected my life because my dad was a type 1 diabetic, was insulin dependent, and as well as some of the people that I know, very good close friends of mine, have children and grandchildren. I have 2 cousins that have type 1 diabetic, or diabetics, type 1 juvenile diabetics. I have a cousin that has a son that's juvenile diabetic. And then 2 or 3 of the people that work on our team so closely have grandchildren and have children that are diabetics as well. And so by being friendships with them and working with them, you gain their passion for their child or grandchild to maybe see them have a little bit easier life by finding out a cure or an easy way to live with it and extend their life a lot longer. JDRF, it's Juvenile Diabetic Research Foundation, and it is for the research and trying to find a cure for juvenile diabetes, that is type 1 diabetics, which is an autoimmune disease. It's an organization that works just strictly for them, and they've come up with a lot of things that are really good for these kids that in the future will help these kids have a normal life. We've had great feedback from the community. We've had great feedback from what we do out here. We've had great feedback from actually getting the car show back downtown on the square after many years of absence. And again, we've got a very loving community and a very giving community. When somebody's in trouble, somebody's had a bad thing happen or we're raising money for different things, this community is always open their pockets and their hearts and their arms to give you a hug or tell you they love you or give a donation. And that's a great community to live in.
Also, we've got some more information on some other car shows.
My hope is to find a cure, and we want to be part of the cure. We want to celebrate the cure. That's the ending to this fantastic car show, is everybody here wants to see the cure and celebrate it. That's what we want.
I want to be a storyteller because I realize that other people's stories are more important than my own, and that I really, after hearing a story, I don't want to keep it secret and keep it to myself and lock it up. I want to be that person that can, maybe take a shy person's story or a person who doesn't have as much reach as I do and share it, because really people's stories are how you're going to learn. So my piece is about a girl named Taylor Dick, and she is a student actually at WKU. And she has this amazing talent that she's a baker. And she's not just that average, I make a cake kind of baker, but she makes a piece of art with what she does. She can, all of a sudden you'll sit there and be like, oh, this is a sculpture. You do sculpting? No, she sculpts with cakes, and she will make anything from, gorgeous cakes that look like Tiffany boxes to a cake that looks like Hulk is shoving his way out of it. And she even did me the honor, she's actually a very dear friend of mine, of making a cake for my birthday that was Frozen theme, and it was just the coolest cake I could ever see. And I think the important part to take away from the piece that I did is that not only is there an importance of getting involved in your craft and what you do, but that education should always be a #1 step. Not only Taylor's story, but my own, we're both doing these fantastic things right now where we are. And we're both going to walk away from this situation with a degree from WKU. And without that degree, I don't think we could grow and blossom to be great.
Every occasion that goes on, like, it's not a party if you don't have a cake. That's my philosophy. I was 14 years old at home over the summer and had been watching a lot of TLC and Cake Boss. And I was just really, really impressed by how they could do such life-like things, but it was edible. So I think that's what sparked my interest in cake baking. The first cake I ever baked was just a really simple square cake, and I had fondant over it, and it was like a Thanksgiving themed cake because that's the only stamps I had at home, like cookie cutouts, and so I cut out the fondant and just made it Thanksgiving themed. Fondant typically is like a gelatin mixture. It's going to be like a hardened form of icing, almost like a dough, but personally taste is a lot more important, so I just use marshmallow and powdered sugar together, and that's it. When it comes to the cake baking process, I think my strongest talent is probably just conceptualizing the idea. And a lot of people come to me for birthday cakes and they want all these different things on them because that's like what the person likes. And so the hard part is to try to find a way to put them all on the cake and make it cohesive. Everybody says they put love into their cooking, but that's honestly a big deal, is just making sure that you're really putting in the effort to personalize the cake for each individual client. And taste is definitely important, so when you've got the taste down, that can be the difference between a good cake and a great cake. Over the years, I've baked a lot of different cakes, wedding cakes and prom cakes. They're usually different tiers, just white fondant with whatever piping the theme might be for that. I do a lot of birthday cakes as well, like Mickey Mouse theme or Hulk, whatever it may be. I also went to New York during high school and went to the Tiffany & Co. jewelry store, and it was just amazing. So I came back and made like a Tiffany box cake. So I get my inspiration a lot from just what's going on around me. When you first start to bake a cake, you're going to want to do all the cake baking itself, because each tier of a cake has 2 to 3 different layers of cake. So the first step is to just get all that baked and have those cakes leveled out. And then I usually go from there and do the icing. And so I let my cakes chill while I'm making my icing, and then you can start assembling the different layers. And after that, if you want to do buttercream or fondant and whatever creative stuff you want to do. There are so many different tools that I use to bake with. A lot of the tools are really to help me decorate with fondant and cut the fondant and make it look really precise. When you're decorating a cake, in order to get it as perfect as you possibly can, you have to start out with a level cake. And so all the different layers of your cake have to be leveled off, and then the buttercream has to be incredibly smooth. One of my favorite tools though is I've got this little saw, and it helps to level the cakes, and you can choose how high you want it. And so it really takes all the guesswork out of it and just completely levels your cake off. Every time I bake a cake, there's a new challenge. You think that you've solved the challenge the last time and that this one will go perfectly smoothly, but it's never like that. There's always a new challenge, or, you know, having different cracks and mess ups with a cake. That's something I'm like striving to do better at, is just to perfect the art. I've had a lot of experience repairing cracked cakes since I started so young, and it's just been a self-taught thing. So buttercream icing is your friend. It's like a glue, but it's edible. So if the cake crack is not that bad, you can always repair a cake crack with buttercream icing. So a good tip would be to always crumb coat your cakes, and that just seals in all the crumbs and cracks, and then go on with another layer of buttercream or fondant after that. When I bake, I do a lot of it by myself, but my mom has always been like my biggest supporter, so she is always there to help clean up. And that's definitely my least favorite part of the cake baking process, is doing all the dishes. And she was such a big help in helping me with those things. Once I finish business school, I would love to go to culinary school and then pursue having my own cake baking shop. So that would be my biggest dream. Professional pastry artists often price their cakes based off of a per slice amount. So they may charge like $3 to $6 per slice. But right now, since I'm an amateur, I just try to price it off based how much work I'm going to be putting into it. On average, I would say a 2-tiered cake probably takes between 10 and 16 hours. It's really extensive when you have to think about all the details that go into the fondant work and the buttercream work. But smaller cakes obviously take a lot less time. I would love to be able to incorporate chocolate into my cakes, and that's something when I go to pastry school, people are so artistic and do amazing things with chocolate, and that's something I would really love to learn how to do. For my most recent cake, the bottom tier, I did a lot of piping work on it, and for that one, you just pipe dots up the side of it and then spread it out with like a butter knife or something, and so it creates a really cool textured buttercream look. And the top tier is covered in fondant, and it's really intricate. When baking a cake, I think what makes it special is just the fact that it's personalized, and the client comes to me with somewhat of an idea, and then I just span off from that. And so, you know, based off the personalities of the client, I try to just really personalize the cake for them.
Well, we've come to the end of our journey, but we hope you've enjoyed meeting these young new storytellers who have taken and shared with you stories that speak to them. Our first story from Abbey Oldham, let us meet some caring seniors that have banded together to create a thoughtful gift for children in the hospital. Their efforts have not only soothed young children, but have provided each of them with a network of loving friends that depend on each other in good times and bad. Neil Purcell told us a stylish tale about a group of car enthusiasts that have taken their passion for their hobby and spread it around to help raise money to find a cure for juvenile diabetes. In our last story, Karen Webb introduced us to a young woman who has the drive and creativity to make one-of-a-kind cakes that make every occasion something special. You know, we're always looking for new stories to tell, and our producers would love to hear from you. We welcome any questions, comments, or story ideas. Check out our webpage, and you can find archived editions of the program there as well. Until next time, I'm Barbara Deeb. And remember, we're just around the corner on Main Street.